Well, Lula's victory Sunday comes exactly 20 years after he was first elected as Brazil's president. This time around, though, is likely to be more of an uphill battle. He has promised to govern beyond his party, reaching out to centrists and even some leaning to the right. But he will undoubtedly face some big opposition from conservative lawmakers. To talk a bit more about all of this, let's bring in Octavio Luiz Motta Ferraz, a Brazil specialist who joins me now live from Sao Paulo. Octavio, thanks for taking the time to speak to us this morning. What's the feeling like there after this historic result?
Well, I suppose it's mixed, given the difference of opinion that prevailed in the country. It was a very tight election, as you have already reported, less than 2% percentage points difference between the two candidates. So many are very happy, but others are also very sad. But I think the best way of describing it is the way you put in your own news feed there. Brazil holds its breath, a global sigh of relief. I think it was an election that was not only about Brazil, but about the world. So it's the feelings are, at least for a large part of the population, of a great relief as well here.
It is still, though, very unusual for a losing candidate to go to sleep, to wake up this morning without acknowledging his loss or even calling the winning candidate. Do you think that Brazil could be heading into some kind of dangerous territory where Jair Bolsonaro might contest the results?
Yeah, so one of the reasons why this election was so important, not only here, but globally, is because democracy was and still is at risk in Brazil. It's unprecedented for the loser not to recognize the elections and not to call the winner of the elections. He has threatened not to respect the results of the polls in the past, although in the final interview before the election, only a couple of days ago, he said, whoever wins will take it. And the global community has already recognized Lula as the new president. Internal leaders here, including allies of Bolsonaro, have already recognized Lula as well. So I think it will be very difficult for him not to recognize it. But whether he will or not, and the way he will do it, it's anyone's guess. As you said, he went to sleep, and we're still waiting for him to wake up, I suppose.
What about his backers? Could we see protests in the streets, do you think, and this for some time?
We have seen a bit already. Some people have blocked motorways here in Brazil. Others have called for the military dictatorship. But so far as I can see, I'm sitting here in Sao Paulo. I went to the streets last night. I walked around. I think most people who voted for him will resign themselves, that the majority of the Brazilian population didn't want to renew his mandate. Let's remember, he's the first president not to manage to re-elect himself or herself after being 4 years in power and have the state machine at his or her disposal. So I think that so far things are moving towards a more stable situation, but you never know. Like he hasn't appeared yet to say what he thinks about yesterday's outcome.
And even if there aren't massive protests, one thing that is clear is that the Conservatives did do better than was perhaps expected in the general elections in early October. So how do you think it will be for Lula to govern now? Do you think that it will be difficult for him to govern, given the body of politics that he's dealing with?
It will certainly be difficult. It won't be as different as from previous times when he was president as people think, because Brazilian Congress has always been more conservative than the executive and the judiciary. This time is a little bit more because Bolsonaro's party, the Liberal Party, has won a large number of seats in the lower chamber and in the Senate as well. So, but even Bolsonaro, if he had one, he wouldn't have a majority in parliament. He would also have to reach out to other parties. And this is what Lula will have to do now. But he has a proven experience of having done that in two previous administrations where he came out with 88% of approval. So it will be difficult, but it's not something that he is not used to doing. So I think he may well achieve that in the next 4 years. He will have to move a bit to the center, more to the center, as many newspapers are predicting now. But again, that's something he has done in his past two times as Brazilian president. So it's not something unprecedented.
Octavio, thank you so much for taking the time to speak to us here on France 24. That's Octavio Luiz Motta Ferraz speaking from Sao Paulo. Thank you so much.